Welcome to this week's edition of Morning Line, the USTA's weekly news magazine. I'm Paul Ramlow.
And I'm Allison Conte.
Be a Magician, who on Saturday became the first female trotter to win the Arthur Cutler Memorial at Meadowlands Racetrack, is #1 in the first Hamiltonian Society Breeders' Crown poll of 2015. The 5-year-old is 3 for 3 this season, defeating male rivals in all of her starts. Be a Magician, the overwhelming 4-5 favorite, won the $183,650 Cutler final in 151 2. Driver Brian Sears put his mare on the front end at the half-mile marker, and she coasted to an easy win by 2 lengths. Wind of the North finished second, with Milady's Monet third. Be a Magician, the 2013 Horse of the Year, will be back in action this Sunday in the $150,000 Maxi Lee Memorial Invitational at Harrah's, Philadelphia, where she will face 3 other Dan Patch Award winners in Father Patrick, Classic Martine, and Market Share. Trainer Nifty Norman is confident his pupil will be up to the task, but realizes it's one tough field.
I'd say it's the best field she's met maybe in her life. You know, it's a really, really good field. You know, Father Patrick having his first start, Classic Martine, first time against the boys. I mean, she's in form. She's going to take a lot of beating, no matter what. So we'll see how it goes.
3 of last year's Dan Patch Award-winning 2-year-olds made their sophomore debuts this past weekend in sire stakes action. Trotting male Pinkman was one of 4 horses from the Jimmy Takter stable who swept the PA sire stakes divisions for 3-year-olds last Thursday at Harrah's, Philadelphia. Meanwhile, in New Jersey sire stakes action, trotting filly Mission Brief and pacing colt Art Speak were also victorious in their first starts as 3-year-olds. And speaking of Dan Patch Awards, 2014's runner-up for 2-year-old colt pacer also returned last week. In the Arsenal made his pari-mutuel debut in New York sire stakes action at Tioga Downs on Sunday, winning impressively first over in 150 flat. This Saturday, he heads to Yonkers Raceway for the eliminations for the Art Rooney.
The amazing thing was that, when he came in, the first day I jogged him, his stifle muscle was bouncing, like he kept himself amazingly fit. And he had muscle bouncing off in the first day back jogging. I was really surprised to see that. But some muscle is really good on a high. He can pace a turn unreal. So, I don't see any problems there.
No eliminations were necessary for the Lismore Pace for 3-year-old fillies, with only 6 entered. Though it's a small field going into next week's final, it looks to be the biggest test yet for Delaware sensation and supplemental entry Totally Rusty. There, she'll have to try her talent against world champion Sassa Hanover. Regular driver Corey Callahan won't be crossing the bridge to drive Totally Rusty in the Lismore. Instead, he'll pass the lines to Jason Bartlett for this start, but he was able to offer some insight on the filly's chances.
I think she'll do very well. Like I said, in her last start there at the Meadowlands, she beat some really good fillies in Happiness and Bedroom Confessions that sat to my back. She went 26 on both ends of the mile and in a lifetime best in 50. She likes it, and I would say being close to on the lead or close to the lead is probably more of her game.
And coming off a lackluster qualifier, Corey believes the week off will work in her favor.
But she didn't really finish up as good as I had hoped. Ross texted me about an hour later and said that she scoped 6. So, I think it's a good thing that she doesn't have the eliminations this week.
The USDA's 17th Annual Driving School was held this past week at the Harness Racing Museum and Hall of Fame in Goshen and the Mark Ford Training Center near Middletown. The 24 students worked with trainers during the mornings and then heard from guest speakers in the afternoons. Susan Zweig and Eric Becker were 2 of the students who attended the driving school to learn more about the racing side of the business. Zweig might have a name familiar to harness racing fans, as there is an annual trotting race for 3-year-olds named in honor of her father, Dr. Harry M. Zweig, while Becker has a small insurance agency in Milford, Delaware.
Having the background in just a breeding farm, boarding farm situation, this kind of is the piece of the puzzle that I never get to be part of. So when it first came up on the website, the school was open, I sent in my money and here I am.
I've tracked a few times. I have a lot of friends that are in it from Delaware, so it's a pretty big sport in Delaware. So looking, like I said, take it on possibly as a hobby and maybe get involved in the sport a little bit.
So you'd like to own some horses or train or?
Eventually probably own and learn how to train, if anything right there. I'm getting kind of old to drive, so.
Other participants were attending driving school with the hopes of soon getting on the racetrack as drivers. Travis Cepoluni and Mark Shahan Jr. were among that group. Cepoluni, a 16-year-old high school student from central New Jersey, was introduced to harness racing by his grandfather. He also participated in 2 Harness Horse Youth Foundation programs. The 19-year-old Shahan's father, grandfather, aunt, and uncles have been involved in harness racing, and Shahan has been around horses since he could walk.
Jogging, cleaning stalls, grooming the horses, and feeding, taking care of them, watering them, cleaning their feed tubs and stuff, giving them baths.
So pretty much everything.
Everything, yeah. Hopefully get some horses for myself and drive them and train them myself and own a few.
The 3 days we were here, I probably learned more in 3 days than I have in 5 years. Catch drive and drive theirs and try to become a professional one day, I guess. Oh, working in the barn, learning different stuff, different kinds of equipment, seeing how different horses go.
Back by popular demand, the 2015 Hoofbeats Photo Contest kicked off this week and runs from now until October 12th. This year we'll have fan, professional, and photo illustration categories as well as introducing the editor's picks. Contestants may enter up to 3 photos. The photos in each category with the most likes will win a year's subscription to Hoofbeats magazine plus a copy of 100 Years in Harness, and one of them will be featured on the cover of Hoofbeats. Head over to the Hoofbeats Facebook page today and get your photos submitted. Also kicking off this week is the Bionic Selfie Contest. The Harness Racing Fan Zone and Tetrick Racing have partnered up to give away a pair of Tim's signature green and gold colors. All you have to do is recreate a photo of the Bionic Man with your best Tim Tetrick impression and submit it on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram using the hashtag BionicSelfie. Which brings us to our tweet of the week. Raymond K. Lance tweeted, "Here is my entry for @TetrickRacing hashtag Bionic Selfie Contest. I call it Baby Bionic." Looks like we're off to a pretty adorable start. Keep them coming, guys. The winner will be chosen by Tetrick Racing on June 15th.
This week's edition of Paul's Paddock Picks takes a look at the Maxi Lee Memorial. Be a Magician will be seeking her 4th straight victory in the Maxi Lee, and will start from post 3 in the 8-horse race. I see no reason why she won't return to the winner's circle and join the great Buckeye St. Pat as the only mares to win this prestigious race. Father Patrick will be making his 4-year-old debut and should be right there at the wire. The 5/8 mile oval at Philly should suit him perfectly, as he is the world record holder for this track size as both a 2- and 3-year-old, setting both of those records at the Downs at Mohegan Sun Pocono. For show, I'm going to go with Julie and Andy Miller's Lindy's True Grit from the rail. This 5-year-old draws inside the 5-hole for the first time in 3 months and has enough gate speed to work out a nice trip on Sunday. So once again in the Maxi Lee, I'm going with Be a Magician to win, Father Patrick to place, and Lindy's True Grit to show.
And this week we're asking you to give us your take on the Maxi Lee. Will it be a battle of the sexes between Father Patrick and Be a Magician as hyped, or will one of the other 6 trotters take the cake? Let us know on Facebook and Twitter, and you could win some USTA swag.
That'll do it for this week's edition of Morning Line. Thanks for joining us, and tune in next week for all your behind-the-scenes harness racing action,
including a preview of the Lismore Pace at the Raceway at Western Fair District. We'll see you next week.